Hey, good morning to day 6. Day 6. We're almost done with a week. If you have stuck with this, you're one of the few. If you have fallen off here or there, jump back on. Jump back on. Listen, if you end up learning 3 or 4 of these verses this week, you're way ahead of where you were last week. But don't sell yourself short. You can do this. You can memorize all these verses. And so yesterday we memorized Psalm 119, verse 112, which is, I am determined to keep your decrees to the very end. I am determined to keep your decrees to the very end. If you memorize that, then I want you to put, well, first of all, there's 3 opportunities. I want you to put the emojis into the chat. Okay, if you wrote it down like I did, boom, you get 1 emoji. If you read it throughout the day, here and there, then put a second one in. And if you memorized it, put a third one in. This is just one of the ways that we can hold each other accountable. But I am determined to keep your decrees to the very end. I love this verse because it speaks of determination. Who doesn't love determination, right? So when we're determined to do something, guess what? There's much more likelihood of it getting done. We need to be more than determined, though, to keep his decrees to the very end. We need to be determined to know his decrees all the time, to learn them more and more every day. Our verse of the week, Romans 12:2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you by changing the way you think. How does he change the way we think? By putting his words into our mind and letting them seep into our heart. So we have to learn his decrees and know his decrees if we're going to be determined to keep his decrees to the very end. Okay, that's why we're learning this week. And if you've been with me, we're this week is all focused on Psalm 119. And Psalm 119 was before Jesus came, hundreds of years before Jesus came. They didn't have any of the great stuff that we have in the New Testament that tells about how Jesus rose from the dead, how he saved us from our sins. It didn't show all the miracles he did, all the miracles that the church did after Jesus ascended into heaven. The writer of the Psalms didn't have that. David wrote most of the Psalms, King David. And as he was writing these Psalms, he didn't have any of the stuff that we have from the New Testament. He was just looking at the Old Testament stuff that he had, and he was putting it in his heart, and he was putting it in his mind, and he was determined to keep it to the very end. Now, David had a problem. He committed a grave sin later in his life, several, in fact, in one instance, and it led to a lot of consequences. So even though David was determined to keep his decrees to the very end, he still fell short too. So we need more than just our own determination. We need the Lord in this. We can't do it on our own. We need him. And as we study Psalm 119, one thing we learn is there's the writer of Psalm 119 loved the Lord. He loved his word. He valued his word, and he was determined to keep his word. So our verses for the week, I'm not good enough to say them fast enough to stay on time here. Your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. Psalm 119, 105. Verse 103, how sweet your words taste to me. They are sweeter than honey. Verse 114, you are my refuge and my shield. Your word is my source of hope. Psalm 111, your laws are my treasure. They are my heart's delight. And then yesterday's, I am determined to keep your decrees to the very end. Do you see how just these words that we're putting into our heart and mind, how they're going to change the way we think? So continue to do it, and put the emojis in the chat. Send some encouragement my way. I'm encouraged by you, as hopefully you're encouraged by me. Tomorrow's verse is this, or today's verse that we'll talk about tomorrow is Psalm 119:89. Your eternal word, O Lord, stands firm in heaven. Your eternal word, O Lord, stands firm in heaven. Write it, read it, learn it. God bless you. See you tomorrow.